It is the custom at this commencement ceremony that the president of the college delivers a final charge to the graduating class. This tradition reflects the ecclesiastical heritage of Bard, a time in the past when the president was by profession a priest, I'm not, accustomed to giving sermons. He was asked to impart at the very last moment, in a fashion comparable to a wedding or perhaps a funeral, some memorable words of wisdom to those waiting to be granted their degrees. The task was to underscore the fundamental values of their education, or perhaps, at the auspicious occasion of commencement, to celebrate the core values of the life of the mind, of learning and scholarships, as graduates from the college entered the so-called real world from the proverbial ivory tower, a practical, if not Philistine and cruel reality in which thought, curiosity, nuance, detail, inquiry were liabilities. But as we all know too well, no one ever seems to remember what anyone really says at a commencement. And for the most part, what is said is predictable and so familiar. Presidents of colleges, like priests and rabbis, have discovered that no matter how eloquent, no matter how serious a tone they assume, formal speeches, like homilies and sermons, leave precious little residue. Invoking high ideals from the commencement platform has all the efficacy of the annual Christmas sermon among Christmas and the Yom Kippur sermon among Jews. We are exhorted to extend peace to all, to be virtuous, and to act for the betterment of humankind. But before even each holiday recedes into memory, and these holidays really blend together, we return to our old ways, to a world of strife, prejudice, violence, and suspicion. You, the class of 2012, are remarkable even by Bard's standards. You deserve the very best advice and wisdom I'm capable of giving you. Since I'm sorry to say a veteran of failed conventions of final charges to graduating class, of any attempt at excellence, I've decided to appeal to your sense of irony and humor. I may owe you the plain, unvarnished truth just for once. But if I do tell you in truth, in front of your justly proud parents and family, I will cloak it in the traditions of satire. I do not wish to shock you, but be assured, irony aside, that what I'm about to tell you, stripped of its evident appeal to parody, actually survives out there as truth. And as you confront what is out there and what passes for received wisdom and popular belief, your affection and loyalty to Bard will deepen. I now share with you my top 10 choice pieces of advice. The 10 things I wish my own children to have learned from me. The number 10 is not arbitrary. There are many top 10 traditions, from hit song charts of yesteryear to David Letterman's late night top 10. Since Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 10 Commandments, to our current rage for rating doctors, hospitals, schools, cities, composers, restaurants, and above all else, colleges, we have developed an obsession for ranking the 10 best. I'm still hoping that some magazine will have the courage to rank churches and synagogues along some bizarre standard of measurement, perhaps how likely it is that God might pay a visit. So, class of 2012, here are the 10 pieces of advice in no particular order of priority, but the 10 most important useful. Number 1, never sleep. Sleep is truly the most overrated and wasteful of activities. As Vladimir Nabokov once observed, sleep may seem restful, but it is at best a form of living death. It is hard to achieve sleep, and when we do, we relinquish consciousness for no apparent reason. So please stay awake at all costs. You'll enjoy and profit from life more. Double your enjoyment by adding countless hours of wakefulness. Only if you never rest and never drift away can you observe the world, witness its minutiae and glorious wonders. Struggle to stay awake, just in case you might miss something during the all too short time given to us. Sleep, simply put, is a waste of time. Adults have told you otherwise to justify their own behavior and prevent you from discovering the truth. My second piece of advice is avoid exercise. Now, I know this runs counter to the adage about a sound body and a sound mind, but that advice is designed to lend legitimacy to our love of sports and a commercial and financial industrial complex that has made a fetish of exercise. The exhortation to spend hours getting into shape is really a devious lie. You're being asked to join a losing battle against aging and time, designed actually to lure you away from using your mind. This massive manipulative conspiracy has worked. You can see it through the windows of fitness studios. Adults spend countless hours in pain, sweating profusely as they run in place, swim back and forth for no purpose mindlessly, addicted to machines that do nothing and go nowhere. This they do in the name of feeling better. They actually could be using their minds. Embrace aging. Don't hide it. The perverse social consequence of exercise is that there are now more people with sound bodies and empty heads living longer than ever before. And remember, the human body is precious, like a precious machine or rare sports car. If you push it too hard and use it too much, it will depreciate faster and wear out. Treat your bodies as if they were fragile and delicate instruments, sparingly so they won't wear out. When the impulse to exercise comes over you, sit down. Exercise is a seductive waste of time and energy. My third piece of advice, never listen. Since you were little babies, adults have told you to listen. You now need to hear the truth after spending 4 years paying to listen to us. Listening, like exercise, is among the most overrated habits. It is just a convenient invitation to become passive and irrelevant. It is far better to imitate us in the academy and your fellow citizens in the streets, on trains, buses, and in airports. Just keep on talking. Now, we have the technology for the first time in history to prevent us from listening. I do not mean earplugs or headsets. We have cell phones. We never have to cease talking. Wherever we walk, we can now talk. We never have to look at anything or anyone or be stranded in silence. There seems to be no place on earth left where there's no cell phone service, and no place where we cannot be found at all times. And if there should be a bad cell service area, we can switch easily to texting, which is really talking with our thumbs. We may not think we have anything to say, and our parents and grandparents may have survived without the cell phone, but they, as you know, tried their best to keep talking. The torrent of our own words will simplify our language and the spelling. Now that we can talk nonstop, we'll never have to listen to the sound of our own voices. Stay at home. It's my fourth piece of advice. I'm not suggesting that you return to move back with your parents. I am cautioning you that once you choose your home, never leave it, and above all, never travel, except under duress. Travel is also among the most overrated and expensive activities. We actually travel and vacation to run away from ourselves. And tourism is a fraud, perhaps the most wasteful of all travel. Tourists, glued to guidebooks, go about in ugly buses merely confirming things already known to them and painstakingly described in books. Travel, like eating in restaurants, is a colossal waste of money. The Eiffel Tower, the Great Wall, or the Leaning Tower of Pisa do not need us to see them in person, and for us to be photographed next to them. Our computers offer easy access to any and all the images we would ever want to see. We can travel now in the privacy of our own homes, and modern travel has become particularly perverse. Getting there and back is humiliating, tiring, and unhealthy, and wipes out any gain from that so-called vacation. Think of how much time you can save by staying at home, living in your imaginations, inventing worlds, and exploring the past in complete comfort. Emerson thought the same, and he was right. Fifth piece of advice, ignore your neighbors. Living with others is hard, frustrating, and bound to disappoint. If you really want to love your neighbor as yourself, you'll leave that neighbor alone and in peace. Stay away. Don't get on that slippery slope that begins with being a good neighbor and ends up as friendship. It is bound to disappoint. If after friendship you fall for so-called love, that too is a dead end. It is just a prelude to the pain of loss. If you keep to yourself, you'll never have to feel abandoned. You'll never have to accept differences, compromise, be polite or circumspect, negotiate conflict, and develop empathy. All activities that distract, frustrate, and reap few rewards. Keep your contact with others at a bare minimum. You'll never have to worry about politics, and you'll never have to get divorced. And you will not need to share the suffering of others or send solidarity with those who want to improve the plight of the less fortunate. Stay entirely on your own, and nothing is more superficial and meaningless than the new form of neighborliness, the social network. Cancel your Facebook account. You'll spare yourself the consequences of wishful thinking. The sixth piece of advice: never tell the truth. No one wants to hear the truth. Knowing how to skirt the truth, slant it, distort it, hide it, are really the most useful skills in life. They lead to success in politics and in romance. Keep saying that something is not, that which something is not, and that which you know others wish to hear. Discovering the truth and truth-telling will only get you into trouble and inspire envy. If you know the truth, just smile and keep it to yourself. You don't have to lie, just keep silent. Seventh piece of advice: resist paying taxes. We now have discovered that government is our enemy. It is wasteful, intrusive, and inefficient. We obviously can fend for ourselves in every way, each of us. Therefore, allowing a government to take our hard-earned money from us in the form of taxes or a mandate is a form of theft. We can take care of our safety, our health, our education, our welfare, all on our own, by ourselves. So pursue every loophole, enter the black market, and deal just in cash. Report no income. See how well all those nations do where citizens never pay taxes, and what a high quality of life they have, in contrast to us, the most dutiful tax-paying nation in the world. All our complaints notwithstanding. And so many of us now here, if no one paid taxes, we would live in a better, more just and clean world. And each of you would be richer. And having a lot of money is, after all, the only thing anyone really cares about anymore in our culture. So don't fret about inequality or poverty. Eighth, join no cause or organization. Organizational membership immediately deprives you of your individuality. And like government, groups and causes promise more than they deliver. They really are what they seem, even if you read the fine print. Take, for example, the National Rifle Association, among our nation's most popular and powerful organizations. They would like us to believe that bearing arms, that owning a gun, is the true mark of a free society and our most precious right under the Bill of Rights. So if we take the NRA really seriously and join them, we would be justified in seeing to it that everyone, from the noble hunter to the unemployed in our cities, would be armed with weapons, all in the name of freedom, liberty, equality, and democracy. And look where that might get us. So you would be well advised to stay away and resist organizations masquerading as groups working on your behalf. 9, I'm getting to the end. Remain anonymous. Standing out from the crowd is truly a bad idea. It requires time, discipline, and hard work. Should you succeed and gain the notice of others, others will simply envy you. Ambition and the desire to win the admiration of others are shortcuts to remorse. They are addictive. Publicity and the limelight are drugs that few can resist, which is why movie stars work so hard doing so little to stay in the news. No good can come from the cult of personality, so stay under the proverbial radar screen. Don't stand out of the crowd, and your life will be restful, peaceful, and free from worry. And the last piece of advice: remember as little as possible. Forgetting is the most secure path to happiness. Cultivating one's memory is, in contrast, a source of anxiety. By struggling to remember, we become susceptible to feelings of regret and nostalgia. We end up looking into the past rather than the present. We will miss the future by judging it through the lens of the past, by finding fault with the present. When we live in or through the past, we tend to distort that past so that all our efforts at remembering are actually undermined. And since we now have the internet, it is really superfluous to keep anything in one's mind for very long. No one needs to know anything anymore. All one has to do is have the right gadget handy, an iPhone, an iPad, or the next generation of a little box, and look something up. As far as our visual and oral memories go, they too are not needed. Just snap a picture, make a recording, and you need not recall in your mind how anything looked or sounded. It exists somewhere, even though you will never want to find it. Simply live in the moment and remain free of any sense of loss or pain. I realize that much of this advice runs counter to what we here at Bard have tried to instill in you. But on this august occasion, we finally need to tell you what people out there really believe. If you think this is an exaggerated view of conventional wisdom, beware. We live in a world in which stand-up comics tell the truth far more than newscasters or politicians. Out there, you will be told that the cost of your education was too high, and the subject matter of the arts, the sciences, and the humanities are irrelevant and superfluous. The least I can do, therefore, as you enter the so-called real world and assume completely your status as adults, is to warn you. Behind my attempt at parody is the fact that this college will, no matter what, continue to stand as a beacon of resistance. You will come to realize that and cherish your memories of Bard and Bard's principles. You have earned your alma mater's highest praise and deepest affection. May indeed the truth, and not what passes for the truth, serve you well. Congratulations.